Ever since we got our hands on the Mi Gaming laptop, I have claimed it as my own. In fact, in the last month or so, I've been using it as my primary machine. So I decided to do a follow-up video on it, talk about how it has held up as a daily driver. This review is gonna be a little different because today we're gonna be focusing mainly on the usability aspects of the laptop. The specs, the gaming performance, all that we have covered in previous videos already. Hey guys, this is Amorto. You're still watching C4eTech. If you do end up liking this video, please subscribe, hit the bell icon to turn on notifications. Let's get this video started. One thing that I used the Mi Gaming book a lot for was scripting. So I ended up spending a lot of time with the keyboard as well as the trackpad. And I've kind of got mixed feelings about them. First, the pros. The keys here are well balanced. They aren't mechanical, but the indented nature of the keycaps meant that the typing experience here was really nice. They're large and well spaced out, at least for a laptop keyboard. And then there's a decent amount of tactile feedback as well. That being said, it does take about a week to get used to, mainly because of Xiaomi's weird layout choices. First, we have the function key in place of the Windows key. I'm someone who uses the left Windows key very often, so I had to change my habits and instead use the macro keys for shortcuts like WinTab. By the way, I tried changing the function key back to Windows from the BIOS as well as from the Mi Gaming Box app, but neither really worked out. Speaking of macro keys, it's this row of keys. They can come in handy, but I did need some time to get used to them and integrating them into my daily workflow. Thankfully though, they are pretty customizable, and once I got used to the layout, I found myself using them quite often for various shortcuts like copy paste and even on Premiere. Oh yes, we did try some video editing on here and it worked brilliantly. We were able to edit 4K footage no problems. And generally while editing, I always prefer a mouse, but the trackpad on the Mi Gaming notebook was so good that I think I could get used to it. It is a large glass slab with Windows precision drivers and the tracking on it felt really smooth. The one thing that I did kind of miss was having separate right and left click buttons. Yes, the whole bottom of the trackpad is clickable, but it isn't as satisfying. Speaking of satisfying, there's no keyboard flex at all. Even the screen hinges are solid metal, which means there's very little screen flex too. They also hold the display at just the angle you set it to. Overall, the build quality here is top notch. Yes, it's a little on the heavier side, but I love the understated look here. That being said, the edges are pretty sharp and I found the lower edge of the metal palm rest digging into my hands while writing long scripts. Another thing that I noted was that while the internal temps were pretty cool, the keyboard, especially near the top row of F keys, got pretty warm during long gaming sessions. The palm rest though always remained cool to the touch. Speaking of internals, the Mi Gaming laptop comes with some pretty powerful specs, but while editing or scripting, I really heard the fans ramp up. That's a lifesaver since when these fans are at full blast, they're really freaking loud. Thankfully, headphones are able to drown them out pretty easily. Speaking of headphones, the audio quality through them is really good. And even the dual speakers, they're fairly loud and have a decent amount of bass to them. I would have loved to see front-firing speakers here, especially because there's so much space to the top of the keyboard and along the sides as well. But for most people, I think the speaker setup would do quite well. Now, what about the upgradability? Well, we have very fast Wi-Fi AC from Intel on board, but unfortunately it's soldered directly to the motherboard, so the Wi-Fi card isn't user upgradable. What is upgradable though is the storage as well as the RAM. So we have a slot for a 2.5-inch SATA drive, can be SSD or hard drive, whatever really. And then there's another M.2 slot that can take in either a NVMe or a SATA based SSD. We can't populate both the 2.5-inch SATA and the M.2 slot at once, but it's a pretty decent trade-off, especially since the Mi Gaming book already comes with one of the two M.2 NVMe slots populated by default. In our top-end unit, we have a 1TB drive from Intel. It's blazing fast, and paired with it is 16 gigs of 2666 MHz DDR4 RAM. This is the fastest RAM that the Intel i7-9750H can handle. But these two SODIMMs are replaceable, so we can go up to a theoretical 128 gigs of RAM on dual channel. Okay, enough talking about the internals, let's now take a look at the ports here. We have quite a wide selection of ports, but one thing that's conspicuously missing is Type-C. Now, given the rest of the specs, honestly, I expected to see Thunderbolt 3 here, but it's quite baffling that Xiaomi decided to cut out the Type-C port, especially because we have seen it in the previous models of the Mi Gaming notebook. We also get only one display output. This is HDMI 2.0 spec, so we can connect up to a 4K monitor at 60 Hz. Also, while I like the fact that Xiaomi has moved most of the ports with the long extension wires to the back, there's no indication on the body panel of which port is what. We had to lift the laptop up and crane our necks to add an HDMI or Ethernet cable. I'd have liked to see something like the Lenovo Legion has. It's the same design as the Mi Gaming book, but the added LED indicators mean we can plug in things without much of a fuss. Since this is a gaming laptop, I went in with very low expectations as far as battery life is concerned. But the 55 Wh battery here is quite small, and even when running on the integrated GPU, it lasted us only for a maximum of 4 hours. This is for lightweight tasks like watching a movie or browsing Facebook. While playing a game, it's even worse. So we are basically left always tethered to a charging port. That being said, I'm really glad that we have NVIDIA Optimus support here, because without that, the battery life would have been even worse. But the sad thing here is that there's no way to turn it off. I even checked in the BIOS. Now, if it feels like that I've been complaining about the Mi Gaming book, then let me clarify something. This is a really great gaming laptop. Amazing performance, excellent thermals, but we have covered all of that already. In this video, I wanted to show you guys how the usage experience was like. What irked me about this machine, so if any of you want to get one of these in the future, you'd know what you're getting into. With that being said, one other aspect of the laptop that I have no complaints whatsoever about is the screen. It is flat out gorgeous. The 15.6-inch IPS Full HD panel here can get really bright. We even have support for HDR content. For some reason, Chrome doesn't play YouTube videos in HDR, but with Edge, we were able to play 4K HDR content and it looks fantastic. What's more, we have a matte finish on the display, and that means even at night with low screen brightness, there's no reflections. All of this, while excellent, isn't the reason why I love this display though. It's mainly because of the 144Hz screen refresh rate. Now, most modern AAA games can't run at 144 FPS at max detail levels, even with a RTX 2060 powering it. But for me, the faster refresh rates were very noticeable, especially while playing esport titles. The only con here, and honestly I'm nitpicking at this point, is that there's no support for NVIDIA G-Sync. Now, before we wrap this one up, let me just take a quick minute to talk about the software setup here. The Mi Gaming laptop is running on Windows 10 Home. Now, Windows 10 Home only supports a single language, and since this one was imported from China, the default language here is Chinese. But the good thing is that once we get into the BIOS, the Windows Home license key from there still works even if we do a fresh install with English as the default language. However, there is some proprietary software from Xiaomi without which we cannot control the RGB lighting or the macro keys. Finding that can be a bit difficult as well, so we have left a link to the driver download page in the description below. Having said that, once we managed to reinstall all the Xiaomi apps, they came with English menus, so it wasn't difficult to navigate them. So, overall, what are my thoughts on the Mi Gaming book? Well, as a personal purchase, I'm incredibly happy with it. The hardware here is powerful enough for whatever I want to do. There's good thermal headroom, which meant I was able to undervolt my processor and even got a mild overclock on the RTX 2060. However, this isn't everyone's piece of cake. At 2.6 kgs, it's pretty heavy. The nondescript look might not appeal to gamers, the lack of a Type-C port in 2020 might be a deal breaker for some, and the weird layout plus the lack of a numpad may throw some people off as well. But if those don't matter to you, then the Mi Gaming laptop is a really bang for the buck gaming machine. But before you run out and grab one for yourself, not that you can right now since there's a global lockdown and everything, but yeah, I'd suggest waiting for the Asus TUF A15 and A17 laptops to come out. They're being powered by the more powerful Ryzen 4th Gen mobile processors. They have a 144Hz display and the GPU inside them is the same RTX 2060. What's more, they're also supposed to be available at a similar price point. Okay, so I've rambled on long enough now and I want to know what you guys think. Would you rather get a Mi Gaming laptop or wait a while and get the Asus TUF A15 or A17s? Leave a comment down below and tell us what you think. That's about it for this video. If you did end up enjoying it, then please do leave a like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you haven't yet. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Have a good one. Cheers.